Welcome to another top whatever top video. This is my 999th video. The next video is video 1000, which I'll reveal exactly what that's going to be at the end of this video. This one is my top 18 favorite Batman artists. This one was kind of difficult to put together. Originally was going to do 20, but I kind of figured out when I lowered down to 18, but I kind of basically moved them around. Alright, now, my number 18 favorite Batman artist is Francesco Francavilla. Yeah, this guy basically has this noir style. Basically, he was one of the artists, possibly one of Scott Snyder's best stories outside of his awesome run that he did for Batman. This he did the Black Mirror story, which was really, really good. It sort of like it had very much basically, because Batman sort of basically one of the elements that made Batman famous is his noir style, and this guy basically nailed it basically when it comes to this particular art style. I mean, yes, this guy also, I've seen this guy also on I believe he did the first Rhino arc on for the Gauntlet, and this guy was recently seen on the four issue miniseries Will Eisner's The Spirit Corpse Makers. Great artist. I highly recommend check out this guy's work, and it's not terrible. It's actually really, really good. And his art style definitely did fit Batman. Alright, number 17 is a guy who I actually met, the late Bernie Wrightstein. The reason I put him on this list is for a few different reasons. One, because I actually met the guy. Two, because he actually did a particular Batman story, one of the most important Batman stories of the last 30 years, and that's Batman the Cult. And three, because one of his most famous character he created, aside from, of course, Deacon Blackfire, basically has had frequent interactions with Batman over the years. Who is that character, basically, that frequently interacted with Batman? Swamp Thing. Yep, Bernie Wrightstein created Swamp Thing. Too bad he never actually drew his appearances actually in Batman, which is surprisingly. But I actually, when I told him, basically, I actually really enjoyed Batman the Cult, and he was very pleased with that. Which he did that miniseries with the awesome Jim Starlin. Though I wasn't particularly a fan of Jim Starlin's writing style when it comes to writing Batman. He's not a bad writer, per se. It's just that I didn't think a guy, basically, who was known for doing cosmic stuff over at Marvel, basically was doing Batman stuff. Basically, it's kind of like his style just didn't fit, per se. He did put out some good stories, like Tonight's the Beast, but basically I could probably, but this is about the artist, per se. But Jim Starlin is also an artist as well, but he hasn't done artwork since, like, I don't know, 80s-ish. But I really wanted to put Bernie Wrightstein in this list, simply because I met him, and I really enjoy his art style. Yep. Alright. Number 16. Another writer, basically, yeah, this is the second one in a row, and basically the following was also an artist who is no longer living. Now, this guy, I've never met this guy before. I never knew he was alive because the guy passed away years ago. How long ago did this guy pass away? Let's see. Oh, it was not too long ago. Really, we're going to meet him. And this guy is the late Gene Colan, who passed away only 6 years ago. Yeah, so I never got a chance to meet him. Nope, never got a chance to meet him. But he would have been one awesome guy to meet, but basically at the time he passed away, I had just gotten to DC Comics. Basically, I've been in DC Comics roughly about a year at that point. So, but I was kind of familiar with him thanks to basically reading his art style on Tomb of Dracula, and in the last couple of years, I got a chance to basically see his work on Batman when he did the work, basically, reading a line, basically, his work that he did for the book back in I think it was 1980s, I believe it was. Let me look it up here. Let's see. His Batman work was actually, yes, in 1980s. He did from 1981 to 1985. Yep. And This guy basically has sort of a gothic art style. That's the thing with him. Basically because gothic art style does work with Batman because there's some horror elements with him as well. So his art style fit perfectly for Batman, and his stories were actually really enjoyable. Basically, that he drew for the Batman comic book. Though he didn't do that many particular issues of Batman. No, he only did issues 340, 340, 343, 348 to 351, 373, and 380. That's what he did for Batman. For Detective, he did a lot more issues for Detective. He did 510, 512, 517, 523, 528 to 538, 540, 546, and 555, 567, which was the last issue just prior to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yep. I mean, yeah, he basically he co-created Killer Croc when he was working on Detective with Jerry Conway, which basically he's on my favorite writers list, but I won't reveal exactly what number he is. But you gotta think of basically introducing Killer Croc. It's too bad he couldn't live to see Killer Croc to the big screen. Though when he passed away, basically Killer Croc came to the big screen basically 5 years later. Yeah, though when he passed away, he was roughly 84. If he was still alive to see Killer Croc on the big screen, he would have been 89. So I don't know. Maybe he could have. I have no idea. Heck, I don't even know what his opinion is of. I think he also co-created Jason Todd, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe he did. Let me take a look at that. I believe he did co-create Jason Todd. Let's see. Nope, he did not. He did not co-create Jason Todd with different artists who did that. But yeah, late Gene Colan, awesome artist. I had a little kind of check out a lot of this guy's work, basically, including his work for Tomb of Dracula and Knife Force. Really good. I think his run is in trade, not mistaken. I believe it. All right. Excuse me. Number 15. This guy is the last one who actually was one more one after this one who passed away, no longer living. Number 15 is the late Jim Aparo. This one actually, let's see. How long ago did he pass away? Because I know some of these people basically, though. My number 10 only passed away just last year. Jim Aparo passed away 12 years ago. Yeah. Basically, this guy is noteworthy for creating The Outsiders with Mike W. Burton. He is also my favorite Batman writers list. I won't reveal exactly what number it is, basically, like I said, with Jerry Conway. Next video. Yeah, basically, he had this great sense of style. Basically, it's a crisp, clear style that he was known for doing. Not a lot of noteworthy Batman comics, but he's noteworthy for basically working on co-creating The Outsiders. But yeah, he did a lot of work for. He worked with from what I could tell, it looks like he had worked with Jim Starlin. Now, I spoke to Chuck Dixon, and yes, he is on my favorite list as well. He says he actually has worked with the guy, so hey, at least the guy's like work good people for basically his career. So yeah, the late Jim Aparo, but yeah, famous for co-creating The Outsiders. Number 14, Tom Mandrake. This guy basically has sort of a very horror-esque art style, basically the art style he used for basically doing the Spectre series with John Ostrander. Yep. This guy basically was a long-running Batman artist throughout his career. As far as I know, this guy is still alive. Yeah. He hasn't passed away. His last known Batman work he did is that he did the 4-part Grotesque with John Ostrander, his only known Batman work. Yes. He basically worked on the main Batman book for basically from 1985, 1986, 92, 93, and 2007. The issues he worked on were 86, 92, 95, 99, 479, 494, and 450 and 462. Really great issues. And he also worked on Detective, basically 650 633, 656, and 683, 635, 636, and basically work on a couple annuals, basically 5 and 11. So you have a guy who worked on a pretty good amount of Batman comic books, and like I said, basically sort of a artistic horror style, which does fit Batman. And his art style is just really, really good. I really enjoyed some of a lot of his work. Yeah. All right. Number 13, Patrick Gleason, a guy who has sort of a cartoonish art style. Basically, the one on this list basically kind of is as well. Basically, Patrick Gleason, basically, Batman work. He's noteworthy for doing books like Batman and Robin, Robin Son of Batman. He's currently doing Superman right now with Peter Tomasi. And yes, he's also my favorite comic list. Now I'm kind of revealing what's on my list, but yeah. But basically, he did Batman and Robin. Of the 40 issues that the series had, he did all but one issue, I think it was, where he did not do. Though for some reason, I thought this was really weird. He had a very strange way of drawing the Amazons. Yeah. But as far as I know, for basically, he only did one book as a writer, and that's Robin. And he did the opening arc for the series, and I think it was like a couple other issues, and that was it. The only writer for the series was basically Ray Fox. Though he had the tendency to give people kind of bigger heads than normally drawn, which was, that was a little odd. But he had a great style, basically, when it came to basically drawing Batman comics. Right? Number 12, Kelly Jones, the guy who gave Batman long ears on his cowl, and basically had this kind of like a bulky art style when it came to drawing Batman. It's kind of similar to what Ed McGuinness is famous for. Yeah, but I just threw him on it because he's a really good artist, and the fact that his most recent work he did was on Swamp Thing. I have heard that his last work he did with Lightning Ween is going to be put in a winter special coming out in a few months. But yeah, it's like the first thing you think of when you think of Kelly Jones is the long bat ears. Yeah, that's the first thing I always think of when I think of Kelly Jones. But he has a very bulky art style. But hey, he did Batman for a long time with Doug Moak. Yeah, he did it for like a long frickin' time. Alright, number 11, this is another guy who basically got big work in the 90s, and he's currently doing work right now on Bane Conquest, Graham Nolan. Yeah, a guy who has a sort of a semi-bulky step, but not as noteworthy bulky as Kelly Jones, but this guy became famous by basically creating the monster Bane with Chuck Dixon and Doug Moak. Yep. He draws the character really well, and he was a long-running Batman artist who did a certain amount of issues. Let's see. He did... Let's see. He did... well, he did a lot of Batman work. He did a ton of issues for Detective. He didn't do any issues from the main Batman book. No, he did basically Detective Comics issue 0, 650, 653, 680, 661, 678, 680, 684, 687, 688, 688, 696 to 715, 78, 717, 718, and 820 to 821. Yeah. So yeah. So semi basically famous artist basically, and he did drew one of the crossover books that Batman did with Spider-Man. So there's that. But yeah, good artist nonetheless. All right, number 10, this is the last one basically who's no longer living. Darwyn Cooke, who passed away just last year. Yep. He passed away just last year. He had heart problems, and he had sort of a bit of a semi-realistic cartoonish style when it came to drawing characters. Yep. That's basically how the guy worked. And I mean, he has some of his famous works been like Batman Ego, Justice League New Frontier. He did the first arc for Catwoman under Ed Brubaker. Though he also did Celia's Big Score. That was actually one of the very few books he actually both wrote and drew. Yep, wrote and drew this very comic book. And sometimes basically he would show off Selina Kyle's rear end. Yeah, he did it also in like issue 4 of Catwoman, Volume 3, where he showed off her rear end. Basically, he occasionally shows partial nudity, but it's only for like one panel and that's it, so it's very quick. And basically, you gotta thank it for designing the current Catwoman costume. A costume she has worn for the past 14 years. Yes. So that's one of the reasons why he's on my favorite list, because he designed a costume that, as far as I know, a lot of people love this costume. This black leather costume with the zipper in the front and a cat-like mask. Though I have heard the costume was inspired by Emma Peel from the British TV show The Avengers. That's where the costume was mainly inspired from. And the fact that the only change and also she had goggles coming up her eyes, which, hey, that's actually quite original. Along with the mask, you get to cover your eyes. Okay. When they rebooted the universe 6 years ago, all they did was just give her the pair of goggles. That was basically it. Her costumes stay pretty much the same. So you gotta thank Darwyn Cooke for giving Catwoman her one of the most popular costumes she's had in her course of her 75-year history. Yep. So let's gotta praise him for the end. The last work he did before he passed away, he did the whole month of variant covers. I own one. I own the Harley Quinn one he did. All right. Number 9 is Greg Capullo, a guy who basically is known for doing 2 famous books. He did a long, lengthy run on Spawn. I have read all the issues for Spawn. His artwork is really good in the book. And, of course, Batman. Yep, Batman. And currently he's doing the Dark Knight Metal series with Scott frickin' Snyder. Yep. He had roughly of the first 50 issues, basically of the 51 issues that Scott Snyder did, he did all but 4 of them. The first one he did not do, I believe, was issue 33. He did not do. He didn't do 34. He didn't do 44, and he did not do 51. Basically, he did of the 51 issues, he skipped 3 just to give himself a break. But yeah, he did a lot of issues in a row, and his art style did somewhat change after Zero Year, where basically had the same style. So. And you also got to thank him for designing the new Bat costume that Batman has been wearing now for over a year. Basically, where his belt, his utility belt, is like kind of like tilted rectangles. The yellow outline outside of the bat symbol. Of course, the costume contains elements from other famous costumes like Dark Knight Returns, Year One, stuff like that, but. At least you have an artist basically who knows Batman history. And I've seen what this guy looks like. He's a big, bulky guy who is bald. Yeah, and this guy is an artist. I'm thinking you have a muscle man as an artist. So at least you got praise him for being a really good artist. Yep. Alright. Number 8, David Finch. The husband of writer Meredith Finch. Yep. Now, David Finch has done a few Batman comics. He did the first line for Batman: The Dark Knight, which he co-wrote with David Hayne, but the book suffered through delays, and I have heard that the reason why it was delayed because, well, he kind of blames himself basically for not keeping the book on time. He was also the artist. He also stayed on the artist after the book was launched in for New 52 reboot, and stayed on for the entirety of David Hayne's run for the first 8 issues, and came on for Greg Hurwitz's first run of the book, basically featuring the Scarecrow, basically drawing almost the entire arc except for a couple issues. And he also did Wonder Woman with his wife with Meredith Finch. He also is one of the artists currently for Batman. Who did the opening arc. He did I Am Gotham and I Am Bane, and let's see. He didn't do the most recent story arc, the War of Joker Bros. That was done by the guy who's next in the list, who's actually on this list. Yeah, the guy who's number 7. Yeah. But the reason why that the next artist is a little bit higher because he's a little more recent and great artist basically number 7 is, and that's Mikel Janin. Yep. So I decided to basically put this together because these two guys are the current artist of Batman. Yep, there's one artist I'm going to mention in a minute. Basically, is going to be honorable mention. I completely forgot him on this list, but I have to mention him. I'll mention just before I get to number 1. All right, yeah, number 6 is Andy Kubert, the artist who did pretty much most of basically who drew most of Grant Morrison's run on Batman. A guy who also is the son of the legendary Joe Kubert. And I think he's worked with his son at least a couple times. And he's a little more famous than his actual and Adam Kubert because Andy Kubert actually has done something that he's noteworthy for co-creating Damian Wayne. There's also the Damian Son of Batman series. Well, that was a pretty good series. It was an interesting idea in the alternate future. Though one person didn't like it very much. That thing was just okay. I thought the series was actually pretty good. All right. So, good artist. Number 7, J.H. Williams III, a guy who was the artist for Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman, Greg Rucka's Batwoman stories, did in Detective Comics, who was the original artist of the previous line for Batwoman for the first 24 issues. For he and the writer Hadian Blackman had to be forced off the book because Dan DiDio did not want the character to get married to her girlfriend Maggie Sawyer, who's not back in Superman for some reason. I don't know why they did. Yeah, I just did. But yeah, this guy always has a very good style. His panel layout is actually quite unique, where it's like a different panel style than normal people tend to think of when they think of panel style. It's like his panel style tends to, it's kind of like splash pages in a way, but his more of is like, it's kind of similar to Alex Ross, but a little more darker art style. That's simply basically how he basically depicts his characters, where it's almost kind of similar to late Gene Colan, but not as gothic. But it's very similar to that. Basically, a similarity to what Alex Ross and Gene Colan, but not to the exact science. But yeah, he drew Batwoman really well over the course of a few years. Yeah, I had to throw him on here because he's one awesome artist. All right, number 4, Jock and Francis Manifold. Jock, basically, I heard his real name is John. This is actually a pen name of the actual artist, and he actually did the Black Mirror storyline. He did the issues that were not sort of like colors like red and blue. He did normal style artwork, and his artwork is really good. But I don't know if he ever did any other work aside from Black Mirror. Excuse me. I don't think he did. Let me check. Let's see. Yeah, his real name was Mark Sampson, but let's see. He also did a few issues of Legend of Dark Knight, did some Detective Comics issues, and he had a brief run on Batman. He was also an artist on Nightwing. So yeah, he got his work around, and that's pretty much it for that one. Yeah, but he's a really good artist. Number 3 is Tim Sale and Amanda Conner. Yep. Though Amanda Conner has done much for Batman artwork, but she is basically a very good artist. I really want to throw her on here because, well, I think she's done some Batman work. Let me take a look on here. I think she has. I know she's the writer for, she does the cover art for Harley Quinn. But I don't think she's done any other Batman work. Oh yeah, she did do a few issues of Birds of Prey. Couple issues of Batgirl. And she was the artist for Joker's Last Left Secret Files Orange. I haven't really read it yet, but yeah, and she was also the original artist of Power Girl, of her ongoing series. These are the first 12 issues of the series, with her husband as the writer of the book. Yep. But yeah, very very good artist. So I heard something of a story basically of I don't know if it's her or some other artist basically who was noteworthy of drawing Power Girl's breasts be so huge. She kept drawing it so big as a joke, and until an editor told her to stop drawing that big. Yeah. But Tim Sale, yeah, but great artist. I highly recommend checking out her work. Bunch of work basically is out there basically that collects her awesome work. Tim Sale, who did the artwork for several noteworthy books basically associated with Batman. Books like Dark Victory, The Haunted Night Stories, The Long Halloween, all with Jeff frickin' Loeb. And it's sort of like a modern take on the classic art style from the 40s and 50s. That's simply how I put basically when it comes to his art style. And he also draws one thing he loves doing. He's loved drawing the Joker with this big, huge teeth. Yeah, it's one of the most oddest depictions I've seen of the Joker to date, but it's so freaking hilarious and enjoyable to see. Yep. All right. Number 2 is who's basically his artwork is noteworthy for having people with tiny noses. David Fincher's known for doing the same thing as well, and that's Tony, as a guy I'm Facebook friends with, and I own at least a couple trades that he actually did artwork for. Yeah. But his a crisp, clean art style, and he's basically some of his work. He actually not only does the artwork, he does the writing as well. Books like he did some work for Batman. He did Battle for the Cowl. Let's see. He also did Deathstroke for the first 12 issues. Though he did the interior artwork for the first 6 issues, but he stuck to the covers for like the first 12 before handing it off to James Booney. But yeah, great artist. Highly recommend checking out his work. His work in trade. And I believe he did some work for Grant Morrison. I'm mistaken. Yep. All right, and my number 1 favorite Batman artist is Neal Adams. Yep, the guy who basically one of the 2 people who helped get Batman back to its dark roots. Basically, starting his first Batman work on the pages of Brave and the Bold. Basically, doing stuff that a lot of Batman stuff is known for doing, like he no longer walks through doors; he comes through windows. And noteworthy for creating 2 of Batman's most famous characters, Ra's al Ghul and Man-Bat. He also co-created with a very famous writer who's also on my favorite writer list, the League of Assassins. Yep. And he has sort of this semi-realistic style. That's basically how I put it. Basically, comes with his artwork. I've met him a couple times. He's kind of a nice person. Just don't ask him the wrong question. That's basically how I put it. A guy who basically has a huge admirer of the Green Arrow character, and he does enjoy the Green Arrow TV show. The Arrow TV show. I don't know what his opinion is on Ben Affleck's depiction of Batman. I've never asked him that, but yeah. But he always, one of the things basically he got famous for when it comes to drawing Batman is they drew Bruce Wayne without a shirt on, showing off lots of hair on his chest. Yeah. Yep. And I'm looking forward to his Dead Man series coming out really soon. I believe it's coming out next month, I believe it is. Yeah, I believe so. But yeah, Neal Adams. Yep. So, he's a great artist. I highly recommend checking out his work. He's also noteworthy for doing the cover artwork for Dead Man's first appearance. I believe it's from an issue of Strange Adventures. Yep. He did the cover art, but he's not credited for creating the character. That was his first piece of work. He did the cover art for that book. Okay. And like another artist who there was a couple other artists I completely forgot from this list. One, of course, is George Perez, who, like Neal Adams, is famous for doing lots and lots of variant covers. Though he hasn't done these to work in a few years because of conflicting stuff over stuff related to Superman. But George Perez is a great artist. Any honorable mentions? Let's see. And this is for artist. well, Scott McDaniel, who did the artwork for Nightwing. Though I thought his art style didn't fit the main Batman book. It fit Nightwing. Yep, there's Scott McDaniel for that one. Trying to think, was there anything else? No, I think that's it. Oh, Gary Frank is another one. Yep, he's in some Batman work, so I want to put him on there as I want to mention. Okay, so that is it for this top 18 favorite Batman artist. Stay tuned for tomorrow. My top 20 favorite Batman writers. Okay, and that will be my 1,000th video. Okay, but until then, I will see you there. Bye.